Yo, what's up? This is Mikey Dab and welcome to the Hype Report. Each week we recap the biggest stories from HYPEBEAST directly from the minds of the editorial team. I'm here to connect the dots. Let's get into this week's show.
How you doing? This is Felson Sajonas, Senior Editor at HYPEBEAST, and today we'll be talking about the Travis Scott Air Jordan 6. Oh, there was a big sigh. What's up?
The big sigh is like the highly anticipated retro Air Jordan 6 Travis Scott. Highly anticipated. It's definitely one of those things that's just been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back to the point where like I think people are in the streets just like crawling on sidewalks, like waiting for the shoe to come out of a store.
Yeah. So we first saw it at Super Bowl this year?
Yes.
February. Mm-hmm. So it is September now, or October. I'm sorry.
Another long side.
It's been a while, but let's talk Travis Scott for a little bit. You know, he's had a big year. Rolling through Astroworld for release last year. Uh-huh. The tour kept going this year. Recently was named one of Forbes' highest paid hip hop acts. I know he's got a little thing with Kylie going on right now.
I don't even want to get into that one.
Let's not.
I'm somewhat happy. I'm sad. I don't know how to feel about this right now because I was a fan for this relationship. Yeah. But continue.
Yeah. Highest in the Room single just came out last week, and I think there's like another Astroworld Festival coming in November. Let's see what else is going on here. If you haven't caught it, the Netflix documentary.
Fire, by the way.
Fire. Yeah.
Very good.
So, I mean, capitalizing off that, we have the Jordan release today, which is October 11th. So it'll probably release by the time this episode airs. So, yeah, like, what are your thoughts?
He's been quietly killing the sneaker game for quite some time. I'm actually wearing a pair of the Air Force Ones. He's done 2 of those, put his little twist on that. I mean, and it's hard to make an Air Force One your own, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I think he killed it with the Air Force Ones. Yeah. This second pair has the 3M accents in all different colors on the toe box to the heel. Yeah. Super dope, different swooshes, Velcro, dyeable, which is what I did. The Jordan 1, of course, we already know that's super fire. And I think that the 6, his take on the 6 is clean. Yeah. I mean, it's a Jordan.
Yeah. How do you feel about the colorway?
I like the olive, as a matter of fact.
I like the olive, too.
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big military green fan, so this was like, you know, just right up my alley.
They leaked the Friends and Family pair also. Well, but okay, so we actually have a pair here.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is just roll over it real quick. So they said it's very military inspired. I mean, aside from one pocket. Let's be realistic. It's not that military inspired. Aside from the coloring in the pocket, like I think that's pretty much it. On the shoe itself, you have a little... the Travie Happy Face inside the pocket liner, which most people have seen already. I think the color and even the OG feel on the red or the infrared hits makes me very happy as well. So he went like classic with it, but he also added his own little Cactus Jack touch with the cactus colored green. Mm-hmm. It's clean and it's his own shoe again, which I appreciate.
Dare I say the Air Jordan 6 is one of the, let's say, kind of underrated, retro Jordans.
Low key. It's low-key one of the shoes that, like, okay, so you have the Olympic fire.
Yeah, fire.
DMP pack, super fire. Uh-huh. Like, you can go down the line with 6s and kind of be like, okay, they have a rich history. Mm-hmm. Even the DB6s. DB6 is fire also. Yeah. So, like, and it's always, like, one of those things where it's like you don't see it coming. Oreo 6 is one of my favorite 6s of all time, and that's like, who likes Oreo 6s? But it's one of the shocker things. They're super comfortable. It's a great shoe. I think it was appropriate, as a matter of fact. Killed it.
How do you feel about the $250 price point? I guess that's been like the price points for these past Travis, like around that area.
Whenever you get a collaboration, I always have this...
I hear the size again.
Yeah, it's a material thing. It's definitely a material thing. So like sometimes they compromise the material when it comes to collaborations. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, we're going to give you this Travis Scott super Vanchetta tan leather thing. And then they bump the price point up. And then you can look at a GR pair that has the same leather and it costs half the price. Yeah. So then I'm just paying for the artist's name. Meanwhile, the artist is signed. So like, what's the big deal? But in this case, the $200 price point did not shy me away from it. I mean, it's not going to shy anybody away. Plus the resale is there.
Yeah.
For those people that do like to resell their items, I'm not one of them.
Well, yeah, before I stepped in here, like the resale before the release was around $1,000. Now it's around $750.
Yeah, it's going to fluctuate until the end of market today. Yeah. I call it market because it's basically, it opened. Once they went on sale this morning or people were walking out of stores, the market was open for them.
Yeah.
By tonight, when it's all cleared up, and there's no more pairs just floating around easily accessible by people who won raffles and so on and so forth, it'll go back up again.
This might not be the last Travis shoe we see this year. You know? There's still sometime before the year ends, before 2019 ends, and we could see another Travis Jordan pair.
I want to see the breakup ones. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe like a Chicago colorway for Travis Scott ones, something to commemorate the breakup.
Hey, we'll see. You know, but overall, you know, what's your take? But maybe let's give it a rating, a grade.
Ooh.
A to F?
I didn't see that coming, as a matter of fact. If I had to, I'd probably go with like a number score. I'm big on the number scores. Okay. I would probably have to land this around a good 8.8. Ooh. 8.8, I think, is a solid number as far as colorway goes. I don't see any extra laces. I'm a big fan of extra laces, like first and foremost. A nice little black or even an infrared lace through here might have been really dope just to break this up and let it pop a little bit.
Yeah.
I like the translucent. The material is actually pretty nice considering Nike isn't known for their material.
Yeah.
The fact that it glows on the outsole, super dope as well. Yeah, I think 8.8 is a solid score for this. Plus, you have a little distressing on the top of the tongue there. I don't know if you see it in between the plastic and the inside, the canvas on the inside. Very
subtle.
Subtle little hints like that make me smile.
Yeah. I think I'm around with you on that score. Maybe bumping down a few points.
What are your deductions, sir?
I like that it's military green. I guess the subtlety is a little too subtle, if that makes any sense.
It does.
You know, like I put this right below, you know, the Jordan ones that just came out, because that one just kind of like made a statement with like,
the larger,
you know, the larger swoosh, the backwards. It's
the hidden pocket.
Yeah. It was
a little more blatant.
It was very Travis. This was a little bit more Nike, and I haven't really seen kind of Travis rock a lot of like military wear. So this was kind of like a little too maybe off key for me. But again, I put it second. I still think it's better than the fours.
Okay.
The fours? Just below the ones, you know?
I didn't think the fours were that dope.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I left it off my list.
There you go. I give it a solid 8.
Okay.
You know?
That's not terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, even like this design here with the pocket and the stash pocket stuff, like I've seen a couple of pairs of other shoes that might not come out for a little bit that were marketed before these and created before these.
Yeah.
So I know where some of this stuff comes from, and I'm a little curious as to how they own that.
Yeah.
Knowing that like someone else has already tried to like market it on their pair.
Yeah.
You know, like, but to do it on a Travis, it's like, okay, we're going to introduce it on Travis, which is what Nike's known for. I'd rather introduce it with Travis, so it's like, oh man, that's dope. Now, if I can't get a Travis and I see another shoe that has a stash pocket on it, guess what?
You might as well go outside the box with Travis, you know, that's his thing. So
straight up.
Yeah. So score 8 for me, score 8.8 for you.
8.8. That's a nice little 88 action.
It's not bad. It's a good score.
All right.
I guess, we could just wrap it up there, and we'll look forward to the next shoe.
I anticipate the next shoe. And breakup news. Kylie, I'm here. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Catch you later. Have a good weekend.
You too.
For the latest in footwear news, you can check out HYPEBEAST Kicks on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/footwear.
I am Patrick Johnson with HYPEBEAST Music, and today we're going to talk about the ongoing saga, the year-long saga, really, that is Kanye West's Jesus is King and YANDHI multimedia, multi-city experience.
I think to like understand what's going on right now, we kind of got to like stretch back and then jump back into the now. So what we had EMI issues. That was
Back in January,
okay. And then we had YANDHI speculation via Kim Kardashian and Kanye. And now we have Jesus is King, and we don't know what's real, what's up, what's down. So let's try and clarify this a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's purposeful or not. I think because of the EMI situation and who owns the royalties, the masters, what's really going on with his label situation, that kind of just extended things. But then just the nature of how Kanye records and him being like a perfectionist and a collaborator, that things are always changing on the fly. Like even with The Life of Pablo, he released it and then he had that infamous tweet where he's like, still got to fix wolves. And then, you know, weeks after, he was still like uploading and changing things on Spotify and Tidal. So up is up, down is down, who really knows? And then things took an interesting twist on towards the end of October 7th, earlier this week, when some whistleblower, some leaker uploaded 15 tracks just under an hour of what a lot of people presume is Jesus is King or YANDHI.
I mean, what else could it possibly be at this point, you know? And I actually had someone send me, I'm not condoning this at all whatsoever, a YouTube link, and it was the live showing, but I couldn't listen to it. I couldn't enjoy it. So I was like, I'm not even going to do this to myself. But at the same time, like, it's got to be YANDHI. I can't do the Jesus is King thing. I can't. I don't see a need to change the name.
Well, he's also joked that he's doing the whole Sunday service thing and starting his church and doing gospel music for tax exemption, which might be a product of his current political affiliation and rantings there. But I don't really want to go into like the substance of the album. I mean, it's good and the leak was pretty polished, but more so just an overview of who's on it and what we can learn about what's to come from it. Obviously Jesus is King is going to be this whole IMAX experience, which changed from Kim's original tweet that it was dropping September 27th. The whole IMAX experience is going to start October 25th. And then from there, maybe the album releases. Maybe it's not an album anymore at this point.
What was it? Lemonade? Lemonade was dope. I liked when Lemonade came out, and it was like an entire soundtrack with a movie to go along with it. That was cool. I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to anything. I just want Kanye to be happy, Kanye to release new music, because I feel like the world is a better place when we get that. And the stress that comes with being a hip hop fan and kind of writing him off and not trusting his musical process is tough. But a few tracks. There's rumors of a Justin Bieber collaboration, Travis Scott, The Dream, Nicki Minaj, Ty Dolla $ign, Post Malone, Chance the Rapper, A$AP Rocky, and a confirmed Young Thug appearance as well. The way that this particular leak was presented, the leaker got away with it for about 6 to 7 hours because it was under the artist title, Kanye Drop Your Albums, and the album title, Kanye Drop Your Albums, in all caps. And it said the publisher was Fago Records. So could be a Midwest Detroit kind of link back. A number of the tracks did feature collaborator Ronnie J's tagline, so maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not pointing fingers.
That's always like funny to me, but it's one of those situations like if you use like Shazam anywhere or in any store, it picks up what song it is immediately. So if they really wanted to shut it down, they could have. I feel like that's all like there's no such thing as bad publicity at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you can put a song on YouTube on your own personal video and within minutes you get a disclaimer saying that that's not your song. So like realistically, if they wanted to, they could have tracked that a lot faster, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was a pretty impressive leak, I think. It was really well put together. We don't know if these tracks are in the right order or really anything about them, but for hardcore Kanye stans, you can listen to it, enjoy it, and kind of see like the evolution and the process of what he's going through in real time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few tracks that, overtly reference his mental health and him staying at like the psychiatric clinic at UCLA with the track UCLA. That goes into like this really crazy like Pac-Man sample that a lot of people speculate is like him being anti-taking medication because it's him like eating pills, I guess, referring to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was an interesting twist of events to the ever ongoing saga. I wouldn't be surprised if we get leaks next week, the week following, as we go.
It's going to continue until it actually drops.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also getting toward the end of the year where, this whole Jesus is King motif, there's going to be a lot of Christian holidays. So a lot are also speculating that Kanye's going to,
December 25th.
December 25th,
yeah.
Or, unless all of a sudden we're going to get Easter, which I wouldn't be surprised either.
Another Sunday service. Isn't that when it started? Isn't that when Sunday service started for Easter?
Yeah.
So I hope it's not a whole nother. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. But
anyway, we'll stay up to date. Keep us posted. Thank you for stopping by. Always a pleasure, Pat.
Of course. And thanks for having me, guys.
If you want to stay up on the latest music news, check out HYPEBEAST Music on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/music.
Hey, how's it going? Keith Estiler here, our editor at HYPEBEAST.
Top of the morning, Keith. What's going on, buddy?
Going
you?
well.
What do we got in art today?
All right, so one of the standout news in contemporary art is Kehinde Wiley's 28-foot-tall equestrian statue that has been installed in Times Square called Rumors of War.
A little backstory on this. So he had an art exhibition in...
Yeah, so he had an exhibition, a retrospective actually. For those who don't know what a retrospective is, it's a decades-long survey of a particular artist's career and their practice. The exhibition took place in 2016. It was a retrospective at Virginia Museum in Richmond.
Gotcha. Now,
Of Fine Arts.
So, and while he was there, he noticed that down the block, I believe, there was an art exhibit or a statue of a Confederate.
Yes.
What was the Confederate's name? I forget his name.
General James Ewell Brown?
Yeah, and I feel like he was taken back by the idea that they would still have that up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the inspiration for this equestrian statue came from.
Yes.
All right, so let's move forward. It's going to get a little crazy right now. So like most people, you're listening right now on the podcast, I'm a mix, so I'm half black, half Italian. Now, I don't travel outside of New York. And when I do, it's always like a culture shock kind of feeling, especially when you head towards like Virginia, down south, and those areas until you get to Florida. And even certain parts of Florida are a little off, I'll say. This is normal. This is normal that you see things like this or people have that sentiment in the South.
Yes.
Confederate States, obviously. It's nice to see that bridging that gap, there's an equestrian statue of this nature and depiction in regards to the social status here in New York.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it somewhere in the South. They'd probably destroy it immediately, not going to lie to you. But I feel like it bridges a gap that maybe most people don't realize living in melting pots like New York or LA or some parts of Florida like Miami.
Yes.
What is this statue of exactly?
Yeah, the sculpture portrays a young black man wearing a hoodie and Nike sneakers. And he's riding this stallion in a very Renaissance classical type of pose. And which is very similar to, you know, how those Confederate War statues are, especially the one of James Ewell Brown. I did a little research and it's almost has like the same sort of likeness. And this is something that Kehinde Wiley has been doing outside of sculpture work. This is his first public sculpture, his first sculpture ever. But he's been mainly doing portraits of Victorian era portraits, very super intricate, of people of color, mainly African Americans, donning like Victorian era ensembles. The most standout one was the portrait that he did for Barack Obama, which was displayed at the National Portrait Museum.
Okay.
This sort of like subversion has always been in his practice. But when you see it in a sculpture, I feel that it becomes more impressionable. It becomes a little bit more emotion charged.
Yeah.
Than seeing it in a painting in that context.
It's almost like you reach out and touch it. You can feel it a little bit more. And that 3D element really adds more character to it, so to speak. Like you can stare at a painting. Like most paintings are inside museums or somewhere hung up, but like being outdoors, walking, and you can be from anywhere, especially since so many people frequent New York, especially tourists from other states and other countries. It's nice to have it right in the heart of such a touristy location.
Yeah.
Also, just for the visibility alone. I don't think it's a very gimmicky type. Sometimes I see art as very gimmicky, depending on like who's doing it or what it's contrived from. But for the most part, seeing something like this, it speaks to me on different levels.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense here. So like I said, I don't travel that far out of New York for simple reasons. Not because I'm like, I'm afraid to go anywhere. It's just because you have to be aware of social situations in different locations.
Yes.
It's like not being from New York and traveling to a part of the New York that you don't know about that you might get mugged in. It's like if you don't know about these things, maybe you should pay a little bit more attention. And I believe there was a quote. He quoted...
So he said, in regards to the work, art and violence have for an eternity held a strong narrative grip with each other. Rumors of war attempts to use the language of equestrian portraiture to both embrace and subsume the fetishization of state violence. I believe that when dealing with a troubled past and arguably a beautiful future, artists should use every tool in their wheelhouse. What I try to do is say yes to certain aspects of history and I say no to others.
Which is actually pretty on point with being clean about feeling a certain way. He's not saying damn you for being a Confederate state, not saying damn you for having this statue up. He's saying, you know what, it's time to take my take on this.
Yeah.
And to update it somewhat.
I wouldn't say it's not purely objective or neutral, that statement. I do believe that there are some personal, references that he's evoking, from like his own experiences as an African-American artist. And what I think this is a very powerful sort of placement. I do agree with you when you're saying that, especially in Times Square. That's the world's sort of like melting pot. aside from Queens.
Shout out Queens.
But yeah, so you have people from not only different parts of the United States, but people from all around the world. And seeing this statue there, especially the scale of it, it's 28 foot tall. It's definitely gonna, trigger some dialogue, spark some conversation.
It's like going to Philadelphia. If you go to Philadelphia and you go one of those like bicentennial tours, Liberty Bell, and all the statues are of older white gentlemen that were of that time.
Yeah.
I think it's good moving forward to have a statue of this nature for the youth growing up. It proves that like you can have something of significance, not just for one culture, but for another culture, and create that background to be somewhat stronger, so to speak. There's just deeper meaning to it, I think, more than just the statue itself, and it proves that there's stepping stones.
Yeah.
Large stepping stones right now.
And with this sculpture, it's temporarily installed in Times Square, but it's going to move to that museum actually in Richmond, Virginia. So as you're saying, you're talking about the context of the statue. It's like, oh, why not put it in the South? Well, it's going to be in the South permanently.
Protected by the museum.
Protected by the museum. So we'll see what happens there when it does, get transported.
It's scary to think that that's like art. We talk about this like every week. It's subjective. It's how you want to view it. This one is a little bit more direct, so to speak. It's a direct combatant to the other statue that's going to be down the road from where it's going to finally land. I'm curious to see how this turns out.
No, same here. And I mean, a lot of people in the comment section of this story were asking the same thing, like, why not put it in the South and everything? And I do believe that that's the conversations that the artist is sort of looking out for and wants to spark with, within like creating this work. I mean, it's like self-explanatory. That's how powerful this work is. All the art that you see out there, it's just like, oh, it's made of this material, it's that. It's exploring this, exploring that.
It needs a visual representation. I think once you see it, like, it's a little bit easier to kind of, because like I saw like the snippet that was there, but then I went into the actual article that was up, and it's more powerful seeing it like in its full like aura.
It's crazy.
All right, so I definitely want to stay up to date with this specific article. Like, I guess once it closes out and it moves, we'll try and follow up or figure something out on that. But thanks for stopping by.
Yep.
Taps on the mic.
Taps on the mic.
Yeah, I'll catch you later.
All right.
For the latest in art and design news, follow HYPEBEAST Art on Instagram or go to hypebeast.com/art.
Hi, my name is Emily Engle. I'm the business editor at HYPEBEAST, and today we're going to talk about how Fortnite is being sued by two parents in Canada for creating a game that's essentially what they claim to be as addictive as cocaine.
Kind of wild. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Really wild.
It sounds a little crazy off rip. Let's get some of the facts out there. So what do we got factually?
Factually, well, in terms of claims, they're claiming that Fortnite triggers dopamine in the player's brain as they carry out the battle royale activities of shooting people, collecting items, etc. So in terms of claims, the parents in Canada are also claiming that Fortnite is very similar to the idea of a casino, roping people into playing the games more and more especially through gambling tactics like loot boxes, which, as many people know, are randomized prizes within games that the user doesn't necessarily know what's in them, but once they open it or pay real money for it, they find items that will help them with their gameplay.
Where most of my rage comes from, I'm not gonna lie to you. Loot boxes in Fortnite are one of those things that just drive me crazy. And I'm an adult. Yeah, I'm an adult.
Do you purchase them?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do. I do all of the upgrades for my battle passes. So it was like, oh, what level are you on battle pass? 48. Well, it just came out. Yeah, it's because I paid $28 to get the level 48. I know it's not real. I know I can't wear any of these skins. I'm completely aware of that, but I also know how to gauge. Like, okay,
right.
I have, who cares if I'm going to spend $28? But as a 13-year-old or 10-year-old or 8-year-old, it's kind of hard to justify giving them the means to, or having them have to make that decision. I want to buy this and be cool like everyone else in Fortnite.
Exactly, and that's another main issue that people in general are having with Fortnite. There was actually another lawsuit back in June against Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, that basically says that there are no proper parental controls over the game to help parents decide whether their child is spending too much, while they're addictively allegedly playing the game.
So you can't see anybody's face inside this room right now because it's a podcast, but the sarcasm level is through the roof on my face. So basically what these parents or those parents are trying to say is that there's no way to stop my child from spending my money on that game.
Right, but it's kind of reminiscent of video games in the past still, which is, what a lot of people are claiming, that this is nothing new. Even when you think back to games like, Mario Kart, Mario Party,
Doesn't
whatever.
matter how far you go back.
It doesn't matter how far you go back, but even in a game like Super Mario Party, there are those randomized boxes that you get, and you just roll the dice, essentially, theoretically, and see what happens.
I mean, look at it this way. So, like, even when there weren't loot boxes and it was just prizes for getting a certain trophy. Mm-hmm. So if you got a platinum level in a game, which means you unlocked everything inside of a game, they would give you a special skin. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to get it, but it's how much work you have to do to get said skin. Now they're just making you pay for it because most people didn't want to spend the time to get a platinum skin.
Right.
I mean, I remember, like, I've been playing for quite a few years. PlayStation 2, when it first came out, Uncharted 2 was like one of the first games I ever played, and they had all these skins. And the skins were only unlockable by, killing a certain amount of people or finishing a certain challenge level, and it was difficult. But if they would have told me you could pay $15 for that skin, guess what? I would have spent the $15.
Right.
So that's really like what they've evolved to, and every game does it. Now, they also mentioned that all of the systems or heads of the systems were going to be telling you how much or what your chances or odds were?
Yeah, exactly. So because parents, mostly parents, I believe, have been complaining so much about loot boxes and kind of the idea behind them, companies like Sony and Nintendo have all agreed to disclose the odds of actually winning a rare item from the loot boxes because, mostly kids and players of Fortnite are after the loot boxes for rare items. Mm-hmm. And since they don't know the odds, they'll spend X amount to get there. So, the companies themselves actually came to an agreement to just nip it in the bud and start disclaiming that.
I mean, in essence, like if they really wanted to like do away with the currency for loot boxes, most of these kids stream, which is a revenue stream for some of them or a lot of them, 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds. If they have the equipment and the availability to stream via Twitch or YouTube or whatever it is, and they're getting currency from that, they could probably just exchange that, or it would be smart to have them have the ability to exchange whatever currency they're gaining from Twitch or whatever for said things, which some companies do. I know Apex does it.
Right.
You can get a free skin here or there if you log into your Twitch account, which is cool. Like that makes a little bit more sense to me. But at the end of the day, I think it's the parents' responsibility to kind of gauge, what credit card or what PayPal is linked to the kid system first and foremost.
Definitely.
And then two, to monitor, like once a month, take a look and be like, okay, Xbox took $300 out of my account this month. Why? And then you go to your kid like, hey, what have you been doing? And now I have to take the controller away from you. Like that to me is the parental control, not so much Epic Games' responsibility to be in your house for you watching your child.
So that is definitely the other side of the argument, and what a lot of our commenters are actually saying is that it is at the end of the day up to the parent to decide what their child is up to, after school hours and outside of,
even during school.
Hopefully, during school.
Listen, they just came out with Call of Duty Mobile and
Mario Kart.
Let's not even get to Mario Kart. I've been losing my mind at 2 a.m. But like Call of Duty at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as long as I got some service, is fantastic. A little multiplayer action. My friends that have jobs or whatever, and they're like, hey, listen, are you able to get on COD right now? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, get on COD Mobile. We can wreck stuff. I'm like, whoa, timeout. I'll be there in a minute. So.
Yeah, but imagine that as a 13-year-old, just having, less developed of a brain, and that's kind of what
I would
claiming.
Yeah, but my mom also was a different kind of lady. She would not go for that. Like even having my I wasn't allowed to have a phone for certain hours. Like if I was around her, my phone wasn't there because who's calling you? Like even now, it's hard to find a situation where a parent isn't using a phone or a tablet as a means to babysit their child.
Right.
So I mean, you're kind of perpetuating that kind of mindset right off the bat.
It's true, and it will be very interesting to see, where the next generation goes in terms of that, because they'll be the first kind of raised on an iPad.
Oof, I'm not ready for this. I don't think I'm ready to be on a train with people who don't say please or thank you.
It's true, yeah.
I have a hard time with that. I say thank you to Siri.
Actually, I do too.
Yeah.
My roommate was just making fun of me for that.
Yeah, but like, so like even the way that it's set up there isn't conducive to kind of a relationship or like a human interaction. It's more or less like you tell automated things what you want, and then they do what you need them to do, as opposed to human interaction where like you can be like, hey, excuse me, could you pass me that? There's no excuse me anymore. It's like, pass me that. Like that little nuance of having that relationship is gone already. Oh, I hate it.
It's interesting because even publications like Psychology Today are starting to talk about the issue. They even did a profile, a therapist, a psychologist, was recounting a patient she had that spent around, they won 300 Fortnite games within 1 month, which could total to be 600,000 minutes, which is a lot of minutes.
For those of you who don't know what 6,000, it's a lot of minutes in a month.
It's a lot, yeah. When paired with school and potential other activities, social interaction.
I feel like they use these kind of tests to propagate or to kind of push their agenda, only because like those matches could have been short matches. They could have been,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like and also like you're not winning every single game, which means you definitely played more than 300 games. That's first and foremost.
Right. And since there's no time limit, as you said, from a neutral standpoint,
they can run.
Right.
They can definitely, I think it's like 12 minutes or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, or 12 to 18 minutes would be like a standard match. So you got to think that that's a rough one. But if you're actually like going through a match and doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is like chasing people down and rushing them, you can get a match done in 10 minutes or 8 minutes.
So it depends on if they're a runner or a fighter.
Yeah, run and gun, or you could be one of those guys that camps. Also blood pressure rising right now. Anyway, well, I guess we'll stay up to date with this and see if they get away with it.
Yeah, my main question is how will this lawsuit end up affecting the gaming industry as a whole? Because, while Fortnite's being targeted now, PUBG, other Battle Royale games, and other games that have loot boxes,
I mean, EA got attacked for, I believe it was Star Wars, and that I think it was something like $2,000 or $2,800 to acquire everything out of their loot boxes. If you wanted every single item, it would cost you $2,800 on top of the game itself.
Right.
So like it's definitely one of those things that they have to find a common ground where, actual money to currency earned in game via time or challenges or whatever it is kind of equates to what you're receiving. Like the loot boxes should definitely be minimized to what those things can do for you. Because I feel like that's another thing too, is like these kids are buying the loot boxes, one, to be cool, but if it's an upgrade to your character, which makes you better, obviously like you'd want it. And that's where I think the draw comes from. Like Fortnite really doesn't give you anything that upgrades your character. That's
besides, outfits and dances.
Yeah, it's all physical.
Appearance.
I mean, it's all facade stuff. It's nothing that's going to make your character invincible. So realistically, I feel like that's their justification for being like, you don't have to buy any of this.
Right.
So,
and yeah, I mean, gaming companies do have a history of kind of evading these accusations. And Fortnite has refused to comment on future litigation, but publications are guessing that the result will be an added disclaimer for Fortnite and other games, basically just stating, you could get gaming disorder from playing this. And by the way, gaming disorder is now officially a real condition according to the U.S. Health Association.
Which is insane to me, but I get it.
That's probably the biggest claim backing this up, is that now gaming disorder is officially a thing, so they have something to go off of.
So I will just stay up to date with HYPEBEAST Gaming in that case.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. All right, pleasure. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
For the latest in gaming news, follow hypebeast.com/gaming or follow HYPEBEAST Gaming on Instagram. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Hype Report. You can find out more about the show and listen to other episodes on hypebeast.com/radio. You can subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Leave a comment and let us know what you think about this week's topics. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Mikey Dab, and that's 2 B's. And shout out to the editorial team. I'm Mikey Dab, and thanks for listening to The Hype Report. Any comment, opinion, or suggestion made by any person contained in this episode does not represent HYPEBEAST in any way, and those genuinely are their individual, personal opinion and thoughts towards the topic shared.